Voltron Season 3, Episode 4, Hole in the Sky. This is definitely a cool episode. It was very interesting going into it, because I'm like, I mentioned like in the review before this one, where it was like, okay, I see the thing, because of course you see the image coming up for the next episode on Netflix, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Shiro, but he doesn't have like the little white tuft of hair, so I'm like, alright, maybe it's something from the past. I don't know, maybe something happened. They do that, in anime where it's like, oh, this happened, and that's how we got like the cool random streak or whatever. So I'm like, all right, well, something's happening here. It didn't seem like it would be the past because they also had the character from last season. So I'm like, all right, well, something's up. That's Shiro, maybe some version of Shiro. Turns out it's an alternate dimension version of Shiro, or alternate reality. I don't know why they made a point to talk about that, but it made me laugh during that sequence where it's like, it's an alternate reality, and I'm like, isn't that the same thing? An alternate dimension is an alternate reality, so I don't know why they specified that. But it turns out that this big hole, this big tear in space and time, is a tear between two dimensions. And it led to a pretty interesting episode. Like, I really enjoyed what they did with this episode, because it was like, okay, we have an episode where Voltron goes through this portal. They're like, all right, we need to check out what's going on. They go through this portal to check out the other side of this ship and see what's going on. And then it's like, okay, well, this is very odd, because we go through, suddenly we're reading life signs on the ship. We look behind us and we don't see Koran in the ship. There's a planet now behind us. What in the world's going on? So the crew ends up getting on the ship, and there's nobody there. They're still reading these life signs and they can't find anything. They kind of referenced the I forgot who it was. I think it was Hunt. But it was like, is anybody getting films of like a haunted ghost ship? And it made me think of the last season when the ship was like going nuts and almost killing everybody. And I was surprised they didn't specifically say anything there. But they're going through and they come across the console, and it's like, okay, well, what was really going on here? They find a body on the ground, and they think that it's just a suit. And Lance is like, oh, well, there's no science here, but they couldn't have gotten that far without their spacesuits. And he lifts the head up, and he's like, oh, that's not empty. And it's a dead body with a monocle on it. So when they watch the video on the console, they realize that this ship was actually carrying an insanely special comet that was supposed to be kept out of the hands of Zarkon. And that leads into us finding out that they're in an alternate dimension, because they come across Shiro, who's actually Sven. And I totally can't remember the character's name, but the crazy dude who is almost the exact same in this dimension, where he's still like, in this probability, maybe this happens, and in this reality, this could happen, and there's a 73% chance that this is this reality if this happens in the next 2 minutes, which is like a 45% chance. So he's exactly the same. And they realize that they are in an alternate dimension, and they come across some Alteans who are actually the bad guys of this dimension, because it's not only an alternate dimension, but it's like an alternate dimension that's 10,000 years in the future, where Allura, and I would assume the rest of the team, or whoever was piloting Voltron at the time, took out Zarkon and all of the Galra, and then they became the enemies, of the rest of the universe, where they start taking people over. And it was a very interesting concept, because it's like they're the good guys from our perspective, but then it's like you go to this alternate dimension and it's like, hey, check it out. We were the good guys a super long time ago. We won. We did all that crap. Now we're going across the galaxy. We're taking out every evil thing that there really is, and every war, we're stopping it because we take over people's minds. And that's when it got super dark, because I was like, I knew something weird was going to be happening. And so they have like the scientist explaining to the guys, it's like, hey, this dude used to be, obviously he didn't say this dude, but he's like, this guy used to be a part of the species that always was at war with this other species. We came in, we stopped all of that. And so they're like, well, how'd you do that? And he's like, oh, it flips him around. It's like, we just injected this thing that's just like an antenna sticking out of his, sticking right out of his, the stem of his brain, and now we have complete control. And I love the way that they kind of skirt around this, where he's like, so it's like slave labor. He's like, no, slaves try to rebel and revolt. These are non-cog, so they have they're non-cognitive species. There's nothing. They just do what they're told, and then they gotta move along. And I love how it played out, where you have the scientist guy explaining, I think it was Lance, Pidge, and Hunk, and then you have the general, who's super awesome. I was like, when they showed her character, what really sucked was like I know they're gonna be villains, but I would love to see her character be in the regular dimension, and I don't know. We might see it in the. It's hard to say. Maybe next season, because I know the next season starts in October, so they may have already planned that ahead of time to be like, hey, this character is gonna come back again, or at least one of these characters. I hope it's her, because honestly, I thought her design was super cool. I was like, she has kind of the same armor as the characters do, like the paladin armor and everything, but it was slightly different in that, I guess, was a part of the alternate dimension thing. It wasn't like a straight V, it was like a slightly curved V, but excuse me, it just looked really cool. So I was like, all right, I would love to see her stay in the series, but of course she's a villain, so naturally that's not going to be a permanent thing. But I thought she had a really cool design. It was very interesting, and she's like this tough character. She was the general, so it was kind of cool because she was like this badass character who had a super cool design. And then it's just like, but she's from an alternate dimension and she's the bad guy, so of course they're not gonna keep her in there because she would just be a constant problem if somehow she got trapped in the new dimension and the regular dimension as we know it from the show. Then she would just be a constant problem for them trying to get back. And it's just like, of course that can't happen, but they do. After everything goes crazy, they do end up still having a sliver of this comet. So I would assume somehow they're going to work on that and build up from this little sliver and ultimately make a way to kind of spread through the different realities. But I thought that was cool. I was like, man, I would love to see this character. I don't care about the scientist guy. It was like, he's a scientist dude. He did do the anime glasses thing where he does like the evil thing. He pushes glasses up. They did that a couple of times. I was like, that's definitely the anime move with the one finger. But yeah, I want to see her come back. I can't remember her name. I just remember she looked really cool to me. Like, she had a cool design. And if I remember right, she was fairly tall, too. I feel like all the Alteans are actually fairly tall. But I was like, that's kind of cool. She seemed like she could be a badass character, but they didn't really give her the chance to, like, physically fight. But she shot a little bit, and it was like, okay, she's obviously the commander of this mission. She's got some skills. So I was like, I kind of want to see her come back, and I think we will, maybe a little bit, down the line, a few seasons from now, they'll, ultimately utilize that little sliver, and then boom, they're coming back. I don't know if they would ever do this, but it would be awesome if they came in, like if they beat Zarkon like officially to death, Lotor's dead, and then the alternate Alteans come in and then they're like the main villains for like 2 seasons or something crazy. I would honestly love to see that happen. I think that would be very cool. And just that, the emotional element of that with Princess Allura having to fight against, they did it for like a little bit in this episode. They would do it for like the whole season where she's fighting against this alternate reality group of Alteans. That would be awesome. And then they could add actual characters from that where it's like, I never want, just random characters who are like, I don't like that we do this, so I would love to actually join you guys and fight my own people. That's something they could do. Excuse me. I don't think that would happen for a while, but man, it would be very cool if they did that maybe in like season 6 or something like that. I think that'd be really sweet if they brought them back as like the main villains, but that's just me. I just think that would be really cool, and it would add some elements where it's like all the technology is the same, but it's slightly advanced because it's like an alternate dimension, but also kind of 10,000 years in the future. So there's just so many different elements that would make it harder for the heroes to win, but at the same time they would know how to kind of circumvent some of the older elements of this new alternate dimension technology. So it's like, I would love to see that happen in the future, but for now, just one cool episode, 2 cool characters, and I just feel like there's so much potential there to bring them back as a huge threat to, the heroes and really the whole dimension, because they're ripping through space and time. And then it's like, hey, we've come here to kind of mind wipe everybody and make them non-cog. So I think that'd be cool. I would just love to see that because I feel like we didn't get enough of mostly the female character. Like I said, the scientist dude, he's a scientist guy. He's not going to do anything in a fight, but she would, and she was also smart as well. She was, giving the sort of the victor's history, that sort of thing. Like, oh, these were the bad guys, and now this is what we do when we bring peace, across the galaxy, and we would love to do that across all universes and all realities. But of course, they skirt away from the fact that it's like, yeah, we give peace, but totally through the means of absolute mind domination. And it's like, okay, but love the way the episode played out. Ultimately, of course, they realize what's going on. Princess Allura, unfortunately, has to go against these other Alteans. They end up forming Voltron. They get the comet. Before all this goes down, unfortunately, we find out that the reason they ended up going there was because of a trap. It was mentioned at the beginning of the episode as soon as it happened. Like, there's an Altean stress signal. It's like, well, that could easily be a trap, but they end up going, seems normal. I admittedly kind of forgot about it. And then that's where they go to Lotor, and it turns out that this ship that was caught between dimensions was actually from the main series dimension, which I thought was very surprising when that was first revealed, because I thought all of this stuff was like, all of this comes from this alternate dimension, and then it turned out that the ship was actually from the main series dimension. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. It ended up not, I thought it was going to be like a filler episode that was just really cool with these alternate Alteans, which would, you know, potentially lead to them coming back way later in the series. And then it was like, nope, Zarkon came in like halfway through and is like, yeah, if they die over there, no big deal. But if they get the comet, we'll steal it from them, because that's the comet that, you know, the king wanted to hide away from my father. And I was like, oh, so that comet isn't from the other dimension, that's actually from their dimension, and he knows what it can do, and it's actually made from the same material as Voltron, which is why it's such a huge deal. And so, of course, things kind of work out, because of course the heroes get the comet and they save it from the alternate dimension Alteans, which would come in and wipe out, you know, everyone. And then it becomes a lesser threat because technically and unfortunately Lotor ends up stealing it from them as soon as they come out with the comet. It's like, sweet, alright, win-win, beat them for a half a second, take the comet, and then we take off. So now they have something that they can create that is as powerful as Voltron, and who knows what the heck it's going to be. So thought that was super cool. Very excited for that. Like I said, I hope that they do this so bad. I would love to see the alternate dimension Alteans seriously come back as the main villains. I don't think they'll do that. I think they would probably come back for like an episode or something and then they beat them. But I don't know. I mean, it's easy to do that because it's a TV show. You could easily think of it like way ahead of time and like, okay, we can do that in half an hour and then boom, they're gone forever. But I would love to see it play out because it's like they already have this insane, you know, army behind them, and they probably do have an alternate version of Voltron. I would love to see that as well. But I don't know, there's so many things where it's just like, I would love to freaking see them come back like a season or, you know, 2 seasons from now, and these alternate reality Alteans are the main enemies for maybe 2 seasons or something like that. I think that'd be very cool, but that's just me. I would love to know if you guys feel the same way, like if you want to see these alternate Alteans come back. But I think that would be such a cool story. There would be so much there, especially if we go from, you know, where we are now. They beat Lotor, they beat Zarkon if he happens to come back in the next season. But, you know, they beat both of them, and then the alternate dimension Alteans are like, check it out, that little sliver we had, figured it out, broke through, now we're coming to kill you because you screwed up and we could have done all our, you know, reality hopping a long time ago. So I think that's how that'll play out. And like I said, they could solve it. They could make it where it's like, oh, boom, we did it in 30 minutes. But I would love to see that be an entire season, if not 2 whole seasons. I just think there's so much potential there for having, you know, this entire race that's wiped out in this dimension, and Allura only having basically one other Altean that we know of, which is the witch Hagar. So it's like, well, she's no help. So you have this whole group of Alteans, but they're all the bad guys. I think that'll be really cool. But really enjoyed this episode. Just made me super hopeful. Like, that's all I was thinking about towards the end of this episode. Like, man, I hope they don't like kill these characters off. I hope they come back in the future. They had the little sliver. They didn't end up stealing the sliver back from them. So it's like they took off with the whole comet, but they still had that first little sliver that they broke off for them. I'm like, that could lead to something. So that's my hope. I know I'm like gushing about something that probably won't happen, but it just had me super excited thinking about like all those possibilities, an alternate Voltron, you know, just alternate histories of like a former version of Allura, or technically future version, I guess, an Empress. So there's just a lot of elements there that I think have great potential for the series that's already great. I just think that would be like freaking amazing if they did that. Like if that was like the final season or something, I think that would be perfect for this type of series. But that's just me. Enough gushing about what may or may not even happen in the future. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And of course, obviously, with all of the gushing that I was doing about the alternate Alteans, I would love to know if you guys would like to see them come back in the future. I would love to see that personally. I honestly, I don't even care that much about the alternate version of Shiro and the Doctor. I couldn't care less about them. But if they brought the alternate Alteans, then they would probably show up as well, because that would just allow for some comedy there. But I really want to see the alternate Alteans come back, because like I said, I really think there's a lot of great potential there. So maybe we'll see that, maybe we won't. I would assume we will, just because it just makes sense. That's just a great story. I don't know if it'll be as grand as I'm thinking, where it's like, I would love it to be like a whole season, but even if it was just one episode, that'd be really cool. But I would just prefer if it was like a whole season, because I want to see even more of like the future alternate Alteans, because I think that'd be really sweet. So we'll love to know if you guys would like to see those characters come back. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.